Hi, hello, and welcome to this episode of Geography Girl. And I'm here today to tell you about the Garden City movement. The Garden City movement was initiated by Ebenezer Howard in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. For the first time in history, the majority of the world's population lived in urban areas in England and Wales. In England and Wales alone, the urban population grew from 39% in 1851 to 77% in 1911, creating poor living conditions caused by overcrowding. So let's start with a quote taken from Howard's Garden City of Tomorrow. Human society and the beauty of nature are meant to be enjoyed together. They are, indeed, inseparable parts of a perfect whole. Howard envisioned a utopia, a network of garden cities connected by railways, each designed to house 30,000 people, with the central city serving as a hub. It was designed to combine the best of urban and rural life and inspire social and environmental harmony where town and country must be married. Out of this joyous union will spring a new hope, a new life, a new civilization. Classic GCSE examples include Hertfordshire's very own Letchworth and Welwyn Garden City, founded by Ebenezer himself. And let's get into the key concepts of the Garden City movement. The first is self-contained communities. The first principle is that garden cities should be designed to be self-sufficient with their own residential, industrial and agricultural areas. The aim was to provide all services and amenities a community might need in order to reduce its dependency on the larger urban areas. To maintain a human scale and prevent overcrowding, cities were designed with a cap on their population size. Howard suggested a maximum of around 32,000 residents per garden city. The second is Greenbelts. The Greenbelt was a design technique used to keep its communities contained, healthy, and with minimum urban sprawl. A Greenbelt is an area of open, undeveloped land reserved for agriculture, recreation, and nature. The Greenbelt provides a number of benefits. They are to be the lungs of the city, to absorb pollution and provide clean air, and they play a critical role in maintaining biodiversity, protecting natural habitats, and preventing urban encroachment onto agricultural land. Howard popularised the idea of Greenbelts in his 1898 book, Garden Cities of Tomorrow. They were incredibly popular in socialist urban planning strategies in the mid-20th century, who emphasised the concept of healthy living environments for its people. The London Greenbelt is one of the best examples. It was established in the 1950s and covers over 5,000 square kilometres, stretching from Hertfordshire, Essex, Kent, Surrey and Buckinghamshire. It includes many parks and nature reserves, including Epping Forest and Richmond Park, and includes conservation areas for bats, deer, over 50 species of bird, and ancient woodlands of oak, beech and hornbeam. Balanced land use. Zoning was important within garden cities, which were laid out and carefully planned to include housing, industry and agriculture, and to create a balance between types of land use and minimise population. The mixed-use layout was meant to reduce the need for long commutes, improve the quality of life, and ensure that economic and social needs were met within the community. Howard sought to integrate people of all social and economic backgrounds, working cohesive and equal communities with opportunities for all to live and work together. It was important to Howard that land and garden cities were owned communally by all residents, where profits from land leases could be reinvested into the community so that the development benefited residents rather than its investors. Decentralisation. These zones were organised within a radial layout. The movement advocated for the decentralisation of urban populations, spreading people and jobs more evenly across a region to reduce the strain on central urban areas. The original plan proposed concentric rings for development, with the civil and cultural hubs being in the city centre, with layers of neighbourhood, industry areas and farmlands on the outskirts. The Garden City movement was incredibly influential in the rebuilding of Britain in the aftermath of the Second World War. Again, the country was plagued by housing shortages due to the bombing and overcrowding in under-resourced cities. The New Town Act in 1946 was a landmark in British urban planning. It provided a blueprint for well-planned cities across the country. The principles of the Garden City movement, such as self-contained communities, integration of green space and mixed-use development, were fundamental in the planning and development of these new towns. Notable examples of the new towns developed under this act include Stevenage, Crawley and Milton Keynes. These towns showcase the lasting influence of Ebenezer Howard's vision on modern urban planning and development. Stevenage in Hertfordshire was the first designated new town in 1946. It was chosen due to its strategic location, which is 30 miles north of London, where it was hoped it would alleviate the housing pressure on the capital. The master plan for Stevenage was designed by architect and planner Gordon Stephenson and the Development Corporation, who had the ability to acquire land in order to pull off the plan. Stevenage's population grew incredibly quickly from 6,000 in 1946 to over 60,000 in the 1960s and required continuous and ongoing redevelopment. Quite notably, the town centre was the first in the UK to have a pedestrianised shopping precinct, which opened in 1959. Influence and legacy. The Garden City concept influenced the development of the New Town movement, especially in the UK. Howard's ideas inspired similar developments worldwide, including Greenbelt in Maryland, which is 12 miles north of Washington, D.C., which was developed during the 1930s Great Depression period. This was part of a programme of work called the Resettlement Administration, which aimed to relocate rural farmers to more economic areas during the Great Depression. Applicants had to be married couples, earning at least $800 per year, and the husband had to be employed to be considered. The town was always segregated by race, with only white families being able to apply for residency. Sustainable urban planning. The Garden City movement has inspired modern sustainable urban planning with the prioritisation of green spaces such as green roofs and walls and community-oriented living, and the development of eco-cities such as Mazda in the AUE, which incorporates greenbelts and parks within their plans and aims to be zero carbon and zero waste. The Garden City model faced criticism and challenges. The vision of garden cities are inherently utopian and therefore clashed with practical realities. The cooperative ownership model and self-contained community was a challenge to implement and sustain in practice, and the social cohesiveness and integration came up against racist segregation policies in the US. Some garden cities have inevitably experienced urban sprawl and become integrated into larger metropolitan areas, creating an increased reliance on cars and a pressure on infrastructure. Whilst not a garden city, London's own Greenbelt has contributed to housing pressure in the inner areas, leading to increased housing prices and affordability issues and debates over land use priorities in the capital. In summary, the Garden City movement was a visionary response to the problems of industrial urbanisation, balancing development, green spaces and social integration. Its principles have influenced modern urban planning and sustainable development. I hope you enjoyed this episode and I will see you next time.